Tiffany H is a dental assistant graduate from our Troy County, Ohio campus. She is the oldest of 7 siblings and graduated from Jefferson High School in Lafayette, Indiana. She lives in Owensville, Ohio with her grandfather and works at Buckeye Dental Care as a dental assistant, where she was hired during her externship. She also works at Texas Roadhouse in Milford and plans to continue her education in the dental field and become a dental therapist. So, Tiffany, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I just want to start off by saying congratulations, because we're all here today because there was one person in your life that didn't want you to give up. Because, as Lauren said, everyone has the will to be successful, but no one ever talks about how we need those role models there to push us to be successful. So I'm here to show you the other side of success. The definition of a role model is a person looked to on by others as an example to be imitated. There's something to be said about the kids who grow up with role models, but what about the ones who don't? What if those people who you thought would be your role models in your life would later end up being the catalyst for what drives you to be a better person because of their life choices? Nobody ever thinks about how the life they live and how it affects other people around them. And by that means, on July 27, 2016, I thought I had my life figured out. I just recently graduated high school in June, and I made the decision to move back to where I lived my younger years in Owensville, Ohio. This was quite a haul from Lafayette, Indiana. The total travel time was approximately 4 hours as I packed up my old, rusty 1998 Ford Explorer. I made the journey. I began to feel invincible because this is what adulthood is, being able to make your own decisions without having someone else over you. And the reason I was moving back was to be with my mom. My mom was the main reason I moved to Ohio. I hadn't lived with her since I was 9 years old, and all I wanted was a normal mother-daughter relationship. As I was pulling out the driveway at my in-laws' house, I got the call from my mother, and she was asking what time I'd be on the road and when my arrival would be. And as I got onto the highway, my journey began. I began to wonder how much my life would change, and at that time I thought it was for the good, but it ended up being a nightmare from my past that I'd be reliving all over again. You see, I was taken away from my mom when I was 9 years old with my sister JC. She was 7 at the time. The judge found my mother unfit for parenthood and gave us to our biological father. We did not know our biological father. As far as I knew Mike, another guy, was my father, and I was not allowed to live with him because of DNA. With a lack of DNA, I was not allowed to live with a guy who was there the day I was born, who gave me my name, who raised me to be respectful of my elders. But that all soon come to an end. So I was taken away by the court from my mom because she was a statistic. And what I mean by statistic, she was another person who found she was a victim of streets and drugs, which led her to neglect her responsibilities of being a mother. I had to learn how to become a woman all on my own. I may have had a stepmother, but just as the story goes, she's an evil one. And once again, I was not her priority. Her kids were. So not only did I have to teach myself how to become a woman, I also had to raise my little sister, JC. And however, then at the time, and as I stand here today, JC has always been my #1 priority. JC and our relationship is like every other sisters in the world. One moment, we're fighting, pulling each other's hair, telling each other how much we hate each other. And then the next moment, we're separate, watching Friends on the couch and eating popcorn. And I was trying to be her mother figure, and at the time, she didn't understand that, and she honestly despised me for it. But at the end, she would eventually know that I was trying to help her. The more I tried to mother JC, the more she pushed me away. And yes, it bothered me a lot, and it honestly hurt my feelings. However, I knew one day that she would understand. So I just kept pushing through over and over through the mean comments and me trying to be the mother that I wasn't meant to be. But soon enough, JC became part of my stepmom's priorities as well. But I was still pushed aside. It was just getting worse. However, my biological father, Dave, he acted like he was some super dad to the public, and he honestly didn't care what happened behind closed doors because that was a totally different story. JC and I walked to and from school every day, no matter the weather, which I didn't mind because I was like our only quiet time away from everyone else. However, my stepmom's kids were catered to. Every morning, I'd wake up an hour earlier to get her kids ready for school. I picked out their clothes, I dressed them, I got their breakfast, and I brought it to them in bed, as if they were in a five-star hotel. I set their coats, shoes, book bags, all by the door so they knew where everything was. And lastly, I woke up my stepmom to make sure she got up, and then she was ready to drive her kids to school. And then I was on my way to school. And however, if I was prepared for school or not, that was still my fault because my responsibility was her kids. My 7th grade year, I got to join gymnastics and track. Dave, my biological father, was a very athletic man all through high school and college, and it was his goal to make sure that I knew that I would never stand up to be as good as him. Every day, I would hear, "Don't you think you aren't good enough? Maybe you should quit." Or, "Are you sure you're working out enough because it seems like you're struggling? Your mile was 7 minutes, and honestly, that was quite pathetic, and I don't want to call you my daughter." As a result of the mental abuse, I never thought I'd be good enough for this guy. So, as a result, I started eating less and working out more. And my depression began to strengthen. I started self-harming myself, but no one noticed. The more depressed I became, the more control Dave had over me, and the more he fed on that. I auditioned for an all-girls show choir when I was 15, and I made it. And I came home and I was thrilled. I was jumping off the walls, and he was not. He was calling me every name in the book but mine, very vulgar, demeaning words, yelling at me, asking me if this was for a boy, and I was so confused because, for heaven's sake, it was an all-girls show choir. But it didn't matter, because he didn't have control over it or what was going to happen. So later on that same week, I had my junior year cheer camp, and I was working one night, and I called my stepmom, and I told her what time I needed to be picked up. However, she arrived 15 minutes late because, once again, I'm not her kid. And so I was only 16, so my manager had to stay there with me since I was a minor, and I was irate. She was always late, but once again, I'm not her priority, so I had an attitude, and I came home, and I sat on the couch, and Dave noticed my behavior, and he asked me what was wrong. I replied, "I'm annoyed with your wife." So he suggested that we go in his room and talk about it, so she didn't hear it. So I said, "Okay," and I got off the couch, and I followed him to his room, where we both sat there for about a good hour on his bed talking about it, and we were just watching television, and then that night is the night that my biological father crossed the line that no father should think about crossing. Though my stepmother was a room away in the living room while this was happening, she heard nothing. None of the screaming, the crying, the slamming doors. Couldn't even get it right. 4 days later, law enforcement got involved. All of us kids were removed from the home and had to be placed with my stepmom. And all this time, my mother was in and out of jail and not stable enough to regain custody of JC and I. So I had to go to this place called the Hartford House where kids who were sexually abused make statements about what was happening. So after 7 years of not having contact with who was my father with lack of DNA, or his family, my mama jumped the gun and she came to God-sent foster care. She was granted full guardianship and we moved in with her and my life did a 180 for the better. And I will never be able to repay her for that because she saved my life. After providing through 2 separate courts, Dave was found guilty and sentenced to 6 months in jail. And he only got to serve 3 because of good behavior. At this time, it's the summer of my junior year, I was getting ready to be a senior, and I couldn't be any happier. Senior year passed, and I got to go to prom, and everything was great. And we're back to where we started. July 27, 2016. I got all settled in with my mom, and everything backfires. 3 weeks after moving home with my mother, she overdosed on heroin. I had never seen an OD before, so I genuinely thought it was a seizure. I placed her on her side, and I called 911, and I followed their directions. After my mom was revived with Narcan, I could finally relapse. But not for long, because 3 days later, she overdosed again. And this happened a total of 4 times. However, at the time, I was enrolled in taking classes at Beckfield College. I was 18 years old, and I'm trying to make a future for myself, and I go home every day not knowing if my mother will be there, alive or not. And after all the stress of drug dealers and drugs coming in and out of our house, I had enough, and I packed up that old, rusty 1998 Explorer one more time. And I moved back to Owensville with my grandpa. I got my first job at Panera Bread and tried to attempt a normal life for once. Statistically, I should have been the next victim to fall into streets and drugs. However, that is not the life I wanted for myself. I wanted to be the rainbow after a heavy rain. I wanted to be that giant pot of gold you find on a bad day. And I wanted to be successful. However, missing classes with Mr. Bar was not an easy day, so I pushed myself even harder because it all paid off. So today I'm standing in front of you. I'm 19 years old, and I face the statistics, and I'm a graduate of Beckfield College. I have a job. And I have a job in my career field, and I provide for myself at 19. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be the next statistic. You can make your own success, with or without your role models. And you don't have to end up like your parents or anyone around you, because that's the only thing you do as a child. I am a strong believer in that everything happens for a reason, and I honestly would not change a single thing that happened in my life. Because of what happened, I'm here in front of you today. And because of what happened, I will be better than both my parents. And the life you live does not just affect you. It affects one person who can affect a million. So that is your choice, so choose wisely. Thank you.